Hey guys, and welcome. Today I have the honor and the pleasure of speaking to Mr. Ashe Oro, who is the founder of Freedom Proxy. Of course, Ashe, you have the Liberty Entrepreneurs podcast. You're a well-known entrepreneur and speaker within the industry. You've consulted on Chintai, worked on various other quality projects. I just want to welcome you, and I appreciate you sitting down and taking the time to speak with me a little bit today. And of course, we're here to chat a little bit about Worbli.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you, Ashe. I've watched you for a long time in the industry, and it's cool to be able to sit down and have this conversation today. I think what a lot of people might not necessarily know is that you spend a lot of time in the banking sector, right? And
that's right.
Yeah, and I think that probably, talking about Worbli, I think maybe that kind of gives you a little bit of insight into some of the things that Worbli is kind of trying to accomplish. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I have an engineering background, computer electrical engineering, worked in that field in tech support and as a programmer for about 7 years. And when I was 29, I was listening to the Peter Schiff show. I don't know if there's any, old gold bugs or libertarians in the audience here, but Peter Schiff was harping on sound money and how the banking system and all the U.S. government regulations were screwing up his business. And it was too compliance heavy and expensive to service his non-U.S. clients at Your Pacific Capital, which was his U.S. brokerage firm. And so he wanted to build basically a bank, but for the purpose of being an offshore brokerage company, because he had like 30,000 leads in this international non-U.S. lead pool that he wanted to service. And so just a little background here. And so we started working at the bank in 2012. Again, I was 29. I basically given up at that point, even if just temporarily, a career in engineering and programming, and moved to the Caribbean to work at this bank. And it turned out that nobody wanted another offshore brokerage company. There were plenty of offshore brokerage companies. There was more offshore brokerage companies than, money chasing them. And the demand we found was for a bank, an actual bank. And we were a libertarian bank. Some of your audience may know Murray Rothbard. We were a Rothbardian bank in the sense that we were 100% reserve. We didn't loan any of our clients' assets. And so theoretically, if all of our clients wanted all of their money sent out, wired out on the same day, that we could do that. We could facilitate that. And we also offered gold and silver, physical gold and silver backed bank accounts as well. So, I did that for about 5 years, started as a commission only sales guy, and then working my way through the ranks, helped build out the sales team, this customer support team, and ended up resigning as head of business development last year in 2017. And one of the reasons that I joined the bank was I wanted to change the banking system from the inside. And I was a big audit the Fed guy, big time gold and silver. This was 2012, so I was starting to get into cryptocurrencies and understand their properties. But it became very obvious to me that you can't, just like you wouldn't join McDonald's to try to change McDonald's from the inside if you think that their health business model isn't what you stand for. The banking business model, the fractional reserve banking business model, and the way that it currently works with the monopoly on government money wasn't something I stood for, but you can't change that from the inside. And this is one thing that I love about cryptocurrencies in general, and Worbli specifically, is that they're looking at what we used to consider the banking industry, but it's just like, finance and consumer finance, and being able to build this layer of AML KYC has a really bad name, but it's just proving who you are. It's getting to a point where somebody feels comfortable doing business with you. And maybe that's you feeling comfortable in doing business with the government or doing business in the government's jurisdiction. Because let's be honest, all my libertarian and anarchist brethren, we still live in this real world where there are real world consequences of breaking, our rulers' laws. But I'm totally in support of what Worbli's doing. And I'm really curious. I will be following very closely because coming from the banking system and seeing how ridiculously inefficient it is and how expensive it is and how there are for real gatekeepers And we got turned down countless times for a banking license in various jurisdictions, Barbados and Belize and Malta and stuff like that, and ended up in St. Vincent. But there's so many walled gates around this archaic legacy system that essentially at the end of the day, it's just a service to help you protect and more conveniently use your money. And with Worbli, just like with BitShares back in the day, I loved BitShares. It helped me really appreciate and understand what we could do with a cryptocurrency financial system, which Worbli is trying to replicate. And I don't even know what all their plans are, but I'm super excited for them.
Yeah, I think you're bang on with a lot of what you're saying. I think that, like for an example, the other day, I sent some money off to an exchange to be able to kind of pull it out. And then I found out that they're actually in the middle of a court case. They're embattled in this court case with the banks, because the banks have essentially kind of created this war on cryptocurrency in Canada. And unfortunately, I don't know when I'm getting my funds. So I just think that we need kind of a little bit more accessibility. I think that we've been kind of taken advantage of for a lot of the reasons that you're speaking about right now.
Yeah, and we don't have a lot of options because anything highly regulated by the government turns into a monopoly. I mean, we look at education for the most part. I mean, thank Poseidon that the internet exists so that we have alternative education sources. But the banking sector, the healthcare sector, the roads, for Christ's sake, right? I mean, everything the government touches turns into a monopoly. And these aren't free market monopolies. And finally, with blockchain and cryptocurrencies and the freedom that it provides, we actually have an opportunity to compete with these guys. They've never really had to compete. Central banks, you could argue, compete with each other, but they're all hanging out, smoking cigars in back rooms, right? They've never experienced real competition. And I've thought for a long time that, I got so much love for Ron Paul. That guy showed me freedom. He really kicked my butt on the path of personal freedom and personal responsibility. But he's got it all wrong as far as auditing the Fed. The purpose of the Fed is so that you don't have to audit it. You can't audit it. If you audit it, it would break. So we don't need to audit the Fed. We don't need to try to fight the existing legacy systems. We just build something new and compete with these guys, like what Buckminster Fuller talks about. And I think and I hope that that's what Worbli's doing, is being one more opportunity in this big blockchain finance wheel that gives us the same type of customer service, of financial products, of opening up doors for people and allowing us to work within the system as it currently is, but while we're kind of building a new system that competes with the old system and layer a little competition on the government, and those guys crumble.
Well said, Ben. I totally agree. I want to talk to you about a keynote speech that you gave a little while ago, which I found really intriguing, particularly because I am a digital nomad. I think it's called, I'm just trying to remember the name of it here. It was Breaking Up with Your Bank, which is a really cool name, actually. And that keynote speech was essentially on the fact that it can be really difficult when you're traveling to be able to get a bank account and deal with a lot of finances, which is something that I've experienced and I thought was really, really brilliant. Worbli kind of has a central theme of perhaps providing access to the unbanked and the underbanked. What are kind of your thoughts on that? Do you think that's accomplishable?
I've gone back and forth on this idea. Back in 2013, when I really started becoming, I would say, daily active in Bitcoin specifically, the whole idea was we were going to bank the unbanked. And now I think I'm more in line with unbank the banked, breaking up with your bank. Because, at the end of the day, Worbli is not a bank. It's a financial system, right? It's something that's going to have access. It's something that you can compete against. And that means that Worbli is going to have to constantly continue to improve and iterate to stay competitive in the marketplace. Whereas if they were an actual bank, then it would be very difficult to do because of the barriers to entry, reduce the amount of free market feedback loop required to continue to iterate, like most businesses, restaurants, computers, cars, everyone needs to do. So what I meant by this whole breaking up with your bank idea was that, and this comes from my own experience. I'm a digital nomad. I've been traveling pretty much constantly since 2012. And breaking up with your bank basically means finding specific areas that you can manage and control your financial life without needing to depend on a traditional bank. And I'm not saying you shut down your bank accounts and you cut up all your credit cards and debit cards and you flip them the middle finger and you get out of there. I'm saying that you slowly and iteratively find ways that you can reduce your dependence on your bank. Maybe that's having cryptocurrency, and maybe that's supporting places that you can pay in cryptocurrency, or maybe that's joining meetup groups in various areas. Like I'm currently in Chiang Mai, Thailand. This isn't what I keep at my house. I don't have a house, but finding people who are like-minded for you and can help you transact fiat to crypto without having to go back through your bank. Whenever I was at Euro Pacific Bank, I worked very closely with our compliance department. I actually helped hire and train one of our lead compliance officers, and facilitating cryptocurrency wires was right up there with drugs, arms, and child porn. And so these people are not friendly to our struggle. And so breaking up with your bank means over time slowly replacing your bank with more freedom-esque financial ways for you to run and manage and control your life, hopefully with the end goal that either you can completely break up with your bank, or that your bank senses that they're getting broken up with millions of people and they're forced to change their business model.
Yeah. You can't really fight against the existing system, but you sure can redesign one that's better, right?
No doubt.
Yeah.
That's the whole build freedom. That's why I go with the theme of build freedom, because you're not ever going to ask people for freedom. Nobody's going to give you. People in control aren't just going to be like, oh yeah, you're right, let me just give you all this freedom, here you go. That's not how it works. The real privileged position, we hear all of this nonsense about various people, white men in these privileged positions and such. That's not a privileged position. The privileged position are the people that have the legal monopoly on the use of force. The government is the ultimate privileged position. They love it whenever we're fighting each other, right? They love it whenever we're trying to cut each other down. And we're very horizontal and they're very vertical in this whole power structure. The idea of trying to rally everyone here to fight the people here, to me, didn't create a lot of freedom in my life. And so I'm trying to rally the people here to build freedom and build and build and build and build. And all of a sudden, we're not too different. And so that's my goal in life, is I want to try to spread this message of building freedom rather than fighting for freedom, because it just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. You can't bring yourself towards something that you're fighting against. You will bring yourself towards something that you're fighting against, but you can't bring yourself away from it by focusing your energy on it. So I totally feel what you're saying right there. Ashe, it's been really cool to sit down and chat with you and get some of your insights on Worbli. I really appreciate you taking the time with me. Where can people find you if they want to get in touch, if they perhaps want to have you for a speaking engagement, or if they want to catch your YouTube channel or EOS Radio?
Yeah, so I've got a couple things going on right now. You can always reach me at Ashe_Oro on Twitter. I would say I'm pretty active. Ashe with an E, of course, ASHE_Oro, ORO. You can check out my website, asheoro.com. I've got some of my podcasts up there and presentations and stuff. I'm just a passionate speaker, liberty first, and it just so happens that blockchain and cryptocurrencies fall directly in line with what I believe in. So I'm always interested in networking, super approachable. I love it when I meet new people who are hustling and on their grind and purpose driven. So it's just such a pleasure. This space, like we were talking before we started recording, this space is so young And there's so much opportunity here that if anyone has that itch, or I used to call it that build bug, if you want to build, there's plenty to build. And even if you don't know how to build, there's plenty to build. Years ago, one of my first projects was I just wanted to build an e-merchandise site. It's like cryptogear.io or something like that. I don't even know if it works anymore, but just to try to test out how do you build something? How do you build systems? And if this is interesting to you, especially to some of my engineering and computer science people, I'm specifically talking to you since I came from that world. You already know how to build. You just don't necessarily know how to build like an entrepreneur. And so learning, and if an engineer can learn how to build like an entrepreneur and look at it from the business aspect and the profit motive and solving someone else's need rather than just trying to tinker, solve because somebody needs you to solve something rather than you just wanting to solve a puzzle, then I think you're going to find a lot of success. Anyway, just kind of rambling on here, but asheoro.com. You can reach me at ash@asheoro.com if you'd like to email me. Yeah, reach out to me. Let's chat.
Love it, Ash. You're a good guy. You're a smart guy, and it's awesome to have you in the space. And I definitely look forward to connecting with you again soon. So thanks so much for taking the time. And
for sure, no doubt. Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure.